Now, a feminist update. How does Rush do it? I can't do this.
We're fierce, we're feminists, and we're in your face.
They buy your dinner, open your door. Other than that, what are they good for, men?
We're feminists, and we're in your
Talking
face.
about men.
We're fierce, we're feminists.
They all want a girl, just like the girl that married dear old dad. They make me so mad, men.
Your face.
Talking about men.
We're fierce, we're feminists.
Well, you can't beat 'em up 'cause they're bigger than you. You can't deal with 'em and you just can't shoot 'em, man.
We're fierce, we're feminists, and we're in your face. We're fierce, we're feminists.
Talking about men, talking about men.
We're fierce, we're feminists.
Well, folks, I have to clue you in on Clinton's nominee for the Massachusetts Federal District Court. He wants her to be a judge. Actually, Kennedy, Senator Kennedy, he recommended this lady. And this lady has a long, distinguished career with the ACLU, and she's a radical feminist, and she's defended all kinds of criminals, such as Susan Sachs, the 1960s radical, convicted of manslaughter, and some other people. But she's hit on something. She's into this sexual harassment. And let me give you some quotes from this lady. She's referring to the workplace, what the feminists plan to do in the workplace or on jobs. Quote, all this will make for contrived, uncomfortable, humorless times between men and women in the workplace for many years. But that's the price you must pay to purge it from what it was. And that is, young men today, they're going to be faced with all this oppression, accusations of harassment for something that was or was not done in the past. Now get this. Now here's this lady. I don't know whether she's married or not, but I don't think she'd be my kind of lady. But anyway, here's what she said with regard to sex between men and women. She says, just as a surgeon is not allowed to operate without a patient's express permission, the man who initiates intercourse must also receive explicit authorization. Now, what this means for young people out there, because I don't, I'm old, I don't pay attention to these radical feminists, but what you young men have to do, you have to get something written by the woman. At Antioch College, they have this procedure, I'm sure the Rush told you about this, where you go out with a lady and you say, may I put my hand around your shoulder? And she must explicitly say yes. May I move my hand lower? And then so forth and so on. Now that seems to take the spontaneity out of a romance. But anyway, I thought you people would like to have that little update so that you know what's new on the dating scene. And I'm going to turn to phone calls. Who's up next, Bo? Is that Eric? Eric from Sacramento, way out there on the left coast.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Eric.
Yeah. Yeah, how you doing?
Okay.
Pleasure to talk to you. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
I'm a little nervous, so bear with me.
Don't be nervous. I'm just as nervous as you are. I mean, look. All the people out there are waiting for me to make a mistake. I mean, and
You're doing a good job so far.
okay. No, I messed up once. These guys in the control room, they messed me up. We had a little bit of silence on the air, and I didn't know what to say, and I'm kind of new at this, and then because of slavery and discrimination, well, you know how that is. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first I'd like to say hi to some I guess my coworkers. They avid listeners to Rush, and they work at McCullough Air Force Base, building 640.
Okay,
Hey,
great.
Eric.
Oh, Eric, it says Eric, it
Hey,
saw in the monitor you want to talk about crime.
Yeah. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I see this, you know how bad crime is, and down there and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like whenever it branches out into suburbia, all of a sudden it's a big deal. But in the inner city, it's so bad. I mean, it seems like nothing can ever be done.
Well,
when it goes out there, arms up and everything.
Well, one of the reasons is that a mayor of any city who cracked down on crime, particularly in a city that's predominantly black, and particularly if he's a white mayor, he would be accused of racism.
Uh-huh.
And so, in a sense, it makes sense for maybe white mayors to say this. I don't know what they say. Well, let's let them people kill each other, because if we go down there and try to do anything about it, we're going to get a whole lot of flack. But when they come out the suburbs, then we're going to stop it.
Yeah.
Now the way to deal with crime in our country, I was looking at the 60 Minutes last night, and they were whining about all this building prisons and is not doing anything about crime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they forgot to say is that they let the criminals out in a few days.
That's the biggest problem, when they go directly to basically, well, a lot of them seem to be rising up and going, further out to the suburban, out there in the, the housing, not housing, but suburbia. There's more money there.
my solution for crime, my solution to handle, one of the solutions anyway, is that, when you go out and you're going to go to a party and you're going to be drinking, you always have a designated driver.
Uh-huh.
And I think people need to have a designated shooter. I mean, when you go out walking along the street or in your car, you designate one person as the shooter. And if these turkeys knew that they might be facing a 9mm shell when they come up to carjack your car, I'm very sure that carjacking would go down. And I think for a whole lot of criminal activity, we need to reinstall the whipping post. I mean, let's not clutter the courts with a whole class crime like graffiti. Maybe 10 lashes with the whip, or 15 canings if a person does some illegal stuff. But we need to get tough on crime.
Yeah.
Well, look, Eric, thanks a lot for calling in. And let's go to, it looks like, I think we have to take a break. This is my second mistake that was caused by the fellows in the control room. But we'll be back after the break.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
We're downtown asking working men and women their opinion of the Clinton administration.
I'd say they're going in the wrong direction.
If you ask me, I'd say they're going backwards.
Now's your chance to make a statement about the direction of the Clinton administration. The Washington Watch Company has just introduced the Clinton Watch, a unique wristwatch that actually runs backwards. The Clinton Backwards Running Watch features a caricature of Bill Clinton with all three hands running backwards. Yet it keeps perfect time because the numbers are backwards too.
That's hilarious. The hands really do run backwards. What a great gift idea.
Oh, I gotta have one. No, two. Wait till the guys at the office see this.
The Clinton Backwards Running Watch is now available by calling 1-800-THE-WATCH. Only $29.50 plus $4.95 postage and handling. The Clinton Backwards Running Watch features a quartz movement, a gold tone case, and a leather band. Not available in stores. You must call 1-800-THE-WATCH to order. All major credit cards accepted. Call 1-800-THE-WATCH now.
Waynesboro Furniture downtown Goldsboro is your mattress outlet center. Along with a full line of furniture, the most important item for a good night's rest is quality bedding at the lowest prices in town, and they're ready for your selection. Mattresses of all sizes priced as low as $139 for a single size set. Lifetime warranties protect your bedding investment. For bedding, furniture, home furnishings, and accessories, buy there, pay there, save there at Waynesboro Furniture, 119 North Center Street, downtown Goldsboro. Save big on your choice of new vehicles at Leith Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu. Save on 94 Jeep Cherokees and the 94 Jeep Wrangler 4x4. The 1994 Chrysler Concorde is only $22,782. And save now on the new 94 Dodge Shadow. And for the truck lovers, see the new Dodge Dakota Sport. Also save on minivans and caravans at Leith Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu, Highway 70 West, Goldsboro. All payments based on 20% down, all prices plus tax, tags, and $138 dock fee.
Good morning, Ted.
Morning, Larry. Good weekend.
Oh, very nice. I went to a little party for Smokey Bear.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's turning 50 this year.
Son of a gun, the big 5-0.
Yeah, nice party, too. The wives made a big cake, 50 candles.
Whose house?
Well, actually, we all put on party hats, ran out into the woods, and hid behind some trees, Ted.
Don't tell me. Smokey walks by, everybody jumps out and yells, surprise.
Oh, you could have knocked him over with a feather.
I'll bet. Tell me, Larry, what kind of gift do you get a 50-year-old bear who teaches people how to prevent forest fires?
Fuzzy slippers.
Of course. Sounds very nice.
Yeah, well, almost perfect. When we brought out the cake and sang happy birthday, Smokey made a wish and blew out all the candles.
Yeah, so?
Well, then he poured water on them.
Oh?
Yeah, and then he stirred them with a stick, and then he buried them. Well, hey, you know how it is, Ted. Some guys, they just can't leave work at the office.
Celebrate Smokey's 50th birthday. And remember, only you can prevent forest fires. This message brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Advertising Council.
Donald from Fort Pierce, you got about a minute. You got to make it quick.
Yeah, I know we don't have much time, but what if over the next few days that you're around, I just wanted to encourage you to talk more and more about the inroads that conservatives like yourself and Thomas Sewell are having in the black community. Just as a backdrop, I remember that when Clarence Thomas was, on trial before the Senate, the numbers show that about 70% or more of the black community were supporting him, but all the black leadership that was getting the press was absolutely against the conservative like Clarence Thomas.
You're absolutely right, and we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about the term that you use, black leaders, because I always ask myself,
you're a black leader.
No, I'm not. I mean, I ask the question, who's the Irish leader?
That's right.
I mean, who's the Chinese leader?
Also,
who's the Armenian leader?
Yes, and
the people with leaders are not going anywhere.
And would you and Thomas Sewell considering declaring running for president, vice president, at least to get the African American conservative agenda out?
No, not yet. But we're going to talk about that. Got plenty of time. But see, my problem with running for a high office is that I have to rise above principle and do the right thing.
Stanisic dropping back to throw, getting some pressure, dumps the screen out to Randy Jordan. Jordan's at the 40, Jordan's at the 45. Got a block, cutting back. They will not catch him.
The Tar Heels of North Carolina will be pitted against the Crimson Tide of Alabama for the 1993 Gator Bowl. This Friday, New Year's Eve, December 31st at 6:30 p.m. And WGBR will take you there with all the play-by-play from Woody Dermott and Mick Mixon. The 1993 Gator Bowl is being brought to you by Leith Chrysler Plymouth Dodge, Leith Jeep Eagle, Crawford Henderson Insurance Company, First Tee Golf Shop, Horizon Sandwich and Sub Shop, Lawrence Travel Agency, Moffat Oil Company, Sportsman's World, Wachovia Bank of North Carolina, Woon Oil Company, Wayne Realty and Insurance Company, and Ernest Glass Company. The 1993 Gator Bowl, Carolina against Alabama. It doesn't get much better than that. And you've got a front row seat for all the action starting Friday at 6:30 p.m. on your Tar Heels Sports Station, 1150 WGBR.
WGBR, Goldsboro's very own.
From ABC News, I'm Gary Nahn. Birth of twins to a 59-year-old British woman is generating quite a bit of controversy. Some medical experts criticize it, others defend it. The woman gave birth to the babies by cesarean section in a London clinic Christmas Day after receiving fertility treatment enrolled by an Italian doctor. The woman, whose name has not been revealed, is said to be a wealthy businesswoman implanted with 4 embryos after her husband's sperm were used to fertilize eggs donated by an anonymous woman. This woman was turned down by a clinic in Britain after her case was reviewed by an ethics committee. Professor Ian Kraft, director of the London Fertility Center, says he hopes this case will not result in a legal limit being set for egg implementation.
If you bring a limit in because of a media hype, you will then discriminate against some very deserving couples. It could be brought down to an age which I would think would be too low, like 45, and that would be very unkind on very deserving couples.
Cost of the treatment estimated at $6,000. There's no indication about the sex of the children or the name of the London clinic where they are. The woman, who turned 59 last month, is married to a 45-year-old man. A wide section of the country is in a deep freeze. Tough to find warmer weather almost anywhere. It is warmer in Nome, Alaska than it is Orlando, Florida. Kathy Newman's leaving Nome because it's unusually cold there this time of year. And this warmer weather hasn't changed her mind.
Today I'm packing because I'm moving down to Oregon tomorrow, where it's warmer.
But not very much. Forecast calls for temperatures in the 40s.
It's in the 30s, and it's nice and warm for a change. We've had a lot of cold weather, so today is a nice warm day.
37 this morning in Nome, a record high for December 27th. Incidentally, the temperature record for this day has been broken in Marquette, Michigan. 13 below zero without the wind chill. Radioactive cereal reportedly was fed to some retarded kids in the 1940s and 1950s. The Boston Sunday Globe reports their parents knew nothing about it. The experiments grew out of nutritionists' concern that a diet heavy in cereal might slow down the body's ability to digest iron and calcium. You're listening to ABC News.
I can't wait to develop this film from the holidays.
Poor Uncle Lou.
What? He fell asleep after dinner, mouth wide open.
Oh, so you had to hang an open all-night sign around his neck?
Definitely double prints.
Kmart has lots of ways to develop your holiday film, all at low prices, with a goof-proof policy and an on-time promise. Choose from a number of print sizes or get them back in a mini-album. See store for guaranteed details.
How about the sign Uncle Lou held over you in the family portrait?
What sign?
Definitely double print.
What do you mean?
Oh,
What did
yeah.
it say? Kmart. The quality you need, the low price you want.
Right now, during Sears Best Weeks to Buy, you can save $12 to $24 on a set of 4 SuperGuard Response tires, as low as $24.99 each for the P155ADR13. And they're backed with a 50,000-mile warranty and a lifetime guarantee against any manufacturer's defect. Now's the time to drive to America's #1 tire store, Sears, and save on SuperGuard Response tires. But hurry, these prices are only good while quantities last. Right now, during Sears Best Weeks to Buy.
Warner Lambert and RJR Nabisco agree to pay $40,000 each and make labels on their sugarless gum more legible in response to a New York State investigation. The Attorney General's office accuses the companies of burying label warnings about saccharin. The Clinton administration reportedly says it will not push Medicare patients to join health maintenance organizations, HMOs. A study just released concludes the government loses money when Medicare patients join HMOs, a finding that should prompt a review of the president's pending health care reform plan. When Jake Tilkey paid $70 for an old piano the other day at an estate sale, he was having second thoughts when some notes went sour. A piano tuner quickly found out why. Tucked inside were smelly bundles of old $5, $10, and $20 bills, $140,000 in all, found by technician Dan Sharada.
Oh, there's always something in an old piano. But no, never in my wildest dreams I'd figure that there'd be something like that.
A quick legal check determines that the money belongs to the previous owner. Fewer students are enrolling in colleges and universities these days. The American Council of Education reports enrollment down in a dozen states, thanks mostly to rising tuition and reduced course offerings. Moviegoers are buying the most tickets these days for The Pelican Brief, an estimated $9.8 million worth. Mrs. Doubtfire is a close second. Tombstone is third. Wall Street, Dow Jones Industrials now up 26.27 at 3783.99. The volume 95,330,000 shares. This is ABC News.
What are your New Year's resolutions?
Lose 10 pounds, run a marathon, plan my retirement, start an herb garden, and learn Spanish.
That's a lot of work.
Piece of cake. I sent for National Dynamic Speed tapes and their free cassette player. Listen to the tapes for 20 minutes a day. In a month, you'll speak and understand Spanish, French, German, Italian, or Japanese.
What about your other resolutions?
Well, I'll get to them later.
Start 1994 off right. Call National Dynamics at 1-800-545-1985 today.
Did I mention paint the house?
1-800-545-1985.
For the ABC Information Network, I'm Gary Nunn.
This is Dave David of the Goldsboro Job Service with a job opening we have need for a production welder. We use MIG welding machine to weld parts on a production line using previously set up equipment. We'll be welding 16 to 32 gauge material. Applicant must have experience with production welding. Starting pay is $10.35 per hour. Jobs are on second and third shifts. we have need for a forklift operator. Will work in a lumber yard moving stacks of lumber from sawmill area to storage and loading areas. Must be able to operate up to a 25,000-pound forklift. Must have a North Carolina driver's license and a minimum of 12 months work experience with heavy forklifts. Pay is $8.14 per hour after probation period. Anyone interested in this job should contact the Goldsboro office of the Employment Security Commission at 109 West Ash Street, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And now, Black by Popular Demand. Dr. Walter Williams sitting in for Rush Limbaugh on the EIB network.
This is Walter Williams sitting in for Rush Limbaugh. And we're trying to get in touch with Elaine Donnelly. And she's going to tell us, give us some updates on tailhook and the business in the Navy. And let me just give you a little background, just in case we were fortunate enough to get her. She is the president of a Detroit-based, actually it's outside of Detroit, Center for Military Readiness. She's the former member of the Pentagon's Defense Advisory Committee for Women in the Services. She's been a member of the Presidential Commission on the Assignment of Women in the Armed Forces. She's appeared numerous times on programs like Today Show, Crossfire, Firing Line. Matter of fact, she cleaned the guy's clock on Firing Line. And she's a tough-minded lady who loves our country. And if I might just make a personal note, she's a pretty good looker as well. and I'd like to welcome Elaine to the Rush Limbaugh Show. How you doing, Elaine?
Well, I'm just fine.
And thank you for being with us. And we have a lot of questions to ask you because you're right up on top of all of this stuff.
Well, it's a thrill to be on this program, and I'm delighted that you're back by popular demand.
It's black by popular demand. Matter of fact, let me tell you, a lot of people, listeners out there don't understand that. I think some black students were wearing T-shirts at Stanford University emblazoned with black by popular demand, and nobody said anything, but when some white students started wearing T-shirts, white by the grace of God, everybody went crazy.
There are double standards everywhere you look these days.
That is right. Now, first, we have a whole lot of questions to ask you. First, I'd like to ask you is to give us just a few of the arguments against having homosexuals in the military.
Well, the law that was passed by Congress this summer under the leadership of Senator Sam Nunn lays a number of reasons why. The primary factor here is the interest of the military. Homosexual conduct is considered to be disruptive of morale and unit cohesion and all of the things that are important for an effective military force. And Congress's intent, unfortunately, on the eve of Christmas, the eve of the Christmas season, unfortunately, the Department of Defense is attempting to redefine what was supposed to be an exclusion law into an inclusion law that would allow homosexuals to serve under some circumstances, and the whole policy is so confusing right now that it's very likely to be overturned in court.
And matter of fact, I think that they make the statement that they want to evaluate not conduct instead of preference. And I was reading an article by Major Melissa Wells Petrie. Is that how you say her name?
Yes.
And she says that the separation of homosexual orientation and conduct is impossible, and therefore the military can't protect orientation without tacitly approving homosexual conduct.
Well, that's exactly right. A person who defines himself or herself as a homosexual engages in the conduct that is considered a problem or an unacceptable risk, is what the law says, to good order, discipline, and unit cohesion. If you don't engage in that conduct, then you certainly would not describe yourself as a homosexual. So to say that the policy should allow, or that it says that homosexuality or sexual orientation is not considered a bar to military service, to say that, and then to say, but we're going to exclude people if they say they're homosexual, this is intellectually dishonest. It's almost Orwellian, and the courts don't buy into policies like that. The law as passed is clear, it is coherent, it does give rationale, but the Department of Defense directives that were announced on the eve of the Christmas season are a lump of coal that have been dropped into the stockings of military people all over the world. And yet the homosexual and liberal groups who demanded that the ban be lifted got a wonderful surprise. President Clinton's administration is playing Santa Claus to them. And it has a two-pronged strategy here, Dr. Williams. What they're going to do first, you redefine the law at the Department of Defense, and secondly, the Department of Justice is dragging its feet, and it may not appeal fully the case of former midshipman Joseph Stephan, who was reinstated in the Navy by a federal court, a lower district court, actually 3 members of the D.C. Circuit. Now, if they don't appeal on this case, on the Stephan case, on the principle that the policy is constitutional, the policy of exclusion, if they let that ruling stand, do you realize that the armed forces will never get their day in court? The ban will be lifted by court order. And even the intent of Congress, the law that was passed, will become null and void.
It goes absolutely. It goes right around Congress. Now, tell the EIB listeners now the following question. Suppose a fellow is a homosexual. He does not engage in homosexual activity in the barracks, but on his own free time, he engages in homosexual activity. Is this prohibited by the Sam Nunn? Sam Nunn, and what was the other congressman?
Well, it's Senator Dan Coates. It certainly is prohibited by the legislation, which clearly states that rules apply whether you are on duty or off duty, in uniform or out. But the new regulations are 1.5 inches thick. They haven't even been, I haven't gotten my copy yet. I do have a summary, and the summary is a little bit ambiguous, although I've been told that that part of it does apply the policy whether you're in uniform or out of uniform. But the basic problem is, how can you dismiss somebody on the one hand, and then on the other hand, in the regs say, but sexual orientation is not a factor in military service? It's illogical. And it's like a house of cards. It's designed to fall of its own weight. And remember, this is an administration that tried to lift the ban by an executive order. So the administration is trying to do under the table what the president did not have the clout to do on the table by executive order. It's an outrage. The members of the military and all of their families and friends and supporters, civilians like me, all the veterans groups should be alarmed by this. Certainly they will want to be in touch with Senator Sam Nunn. Sam Nunn does have the option to insist that the law be followed faithfully, but only if he understands that the majority of American people want him to do that. Remember, Les Aspin said, well, the don't ask, don't tell policy, as announced on July 19, is acceptable to the military. I don't believe this is true. This is the same administration that said that the Armed Forces Network, there was no demand to carry Rush Limbaugh. I think he's forgetting one very important point, and I knew it from the first sentence at his news conference when he said this is the July 19 policy announced several months ago. Excuse me, Mr. Secretary, the law was passed several months later. The law is what you must enforce. You no longer have the option as the Secretary of Defense to create a new policy.
That's right. But there are many Americans out there who think that there is a constitutional right to serve in the armed forces.
There is none, and the legislation makes it crystal clear. It's in writing that there is no constitutional right to serve in the armed forces. It is a privilege. People who are homosexual have every right to serve their country in other ways, but not in the military. It is not acceptable. There are a lot of exclusion policies in the military. We don't have people in jobs that they're not suited for. If they're handicapped, they're too heavy, they don't have the right credentials. There's all kinds of exclusion policies. They are rational. This one is one of those. It needs to be defended in court, and Department of Defense must remain faithful to the law. Congress has to intervene.
And the Department of Defense or the armed forces, this does not. They're not a society. That is, they're not just a friendly organization. The survival of our country depends on an efficient military. And the primary purpose is not to engage in social experimentation. The primary purpose of the armed forces is to go out there and act mean and break up things.
Well, that's right. According to the law, and I'm quoting, success in combat requires military units that are characterized by high morale, good order and discipline, and unit cohesion. And it goes on to say that all the various reasons why military life is fundamentally different from civilian life, with its own rules and standards of conduct. And for the administration to try to get through the back door what they could not legislate through Congress, remember Congress voted by two-thirds majorities in both the House and the Senate for an exclusion policy. Don't ask, don't tell was rejected. I don't care what the majority of media people say, that was rejected. And if people want to know more details about it, I'd be happy to send information. The Center for Military Readiness is a public policy organization, and we specialize on the military personnel issues, things that you don't see discussed in great depth in the major media.
Yeah, and I said that your organization was Detroit-based. It's actually in Livonia?
Yes,
and that's outside of Detroit. Okay, fine. Hey, when we come back from the break, I would like to for you to give us an update on the tailhook, and then we're going to get around to a number of calls about the military situation. So hang on there, Elaine.
Thank you.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Folks, my good friends at CompuServe have announced some additions to their basic service package. As you know, CompuServe continues to offer the most competitive and valuable set of services for a flat fee of any general online information service. The standard pricing plan of $8.95 a month includes 47 basic services, such as news, weather, consumer reports, stock quotes, Associated Press, Roger Ebert's movie reviews, and both the Easy Saber and WorldSpan travel reservation service. You can make airline reservations there. Now they've added some new things, including the American Heritage Dictionary is now online, Consumer Reports Complete Drug Reference now online, soap opera summaries, and the Hollywood Hotline now all online. And if you sign up for the standard pricing plan, you will receive reduced rates to explore other services that are charged by the hour. $8.95 for unlimited connect time access to 47 basic services. 1-800-621-1253.
Is your car hard to start? When you accelerate, does your car hesitate? Notice a loss in power? If you said yes, maybe it's dirty fuel injectors and time for STP Super Concentrated Fuel Injector Cleaner. One treatment helps unclog dirty injectors fast to restore power and performance for up to 2,500 miles. So use STP or just keep going the way you've been going. STP. Drive a better car.
Wouldn't it be great to be related to the President of the United States? Now you can be. With Bill Clinton's incredibly complex heritage, it can be proven without a shadow of a doubt that you are Mr. Clinton's long-lost brother, half-brother, sister, half-sister, quarter-sister, cousin, father, son, daughter, or even former Siamese twin. For written proof of your family relationship to our president, just call Jeanette Executive at 1-800-BILL-MY-BRO and be prepared to reap the benefits of executive relations. Jeanette Executive will send you family documents, signed affidavits, and genetic charts that show conclusively that you are Bill Clinton's fill-in relationship on dotted line. Then it's off to Oprah, Donahue, Whoopi, Arsenio, Leno, and the offices of the National Enquirer. Become a celebrity with one phone call to Jeanette Executive. Jeanette Executive takes all major credit cards and will even return them when we're finished with them in 6 to 8 months. Guys, you'll discover how easy it is to get into Bill Clinton's chromosomes. And gals, you won't believe how simple it is to get into Bill Clinton's genes. Thanks to Jeanette Executive.
Each year, millions of Americans decide getting out on the water is the best way to take off the pressure and have a good time. But too many of those boaters also decide that alcohol and drugs must be part of the fun. Of the hundreds of boaters killed each year on America's waterways, indications are that about half of them may have died in an alcohol or drug-related accident. For those boaters, one day of fun on the water suddenly became a tragedy. It's a fact. The sun, the rocking of the boat, the wind and the noise will make a boater tired and can greatly reduce the boat operator's ability to handle the craft on the water. Add alcohol or drugs into the mix, and you have a dangerous combination. The United States Coast Guard and the National Safe Boating Council want you to be sober when you operate your boat. And don't get on a boat if you believe the boat's operator is impaired. Boat smart. Boat sober.
We're back on EIB, and we're with Elaine Donnelly, and she's going to take your calls in a few minutes. But we want to talk about at least one more thing before we get to your calls. Now, Elaine, I understand that much of what actually transpired at the Navy's Tailhook Convention has been concealed from the American public. According to, I was reading something by a doctor, I believe she's a female. Yes, of course she is. Dr. LaRock, who's married to a Navy commander. She said that Lieutenant Coughlin, that lady that we saw tearfully complaining about to Dan Rather about the harassment in Navy, but Dr. LaRock observed Lieutenant Coughlin chugging champagne from a bottle and groping and grabbing men and rubbing her crotch up against them. And she was also one of the ladies who had a leg shaving during the Tailhook Convention. It was testified by one of the officers, and her testimony was completely ignored by the Inspector General because he was only interested in assaults on women, not their behavior.
There's been a great deal of evidence that there are dual prosecutions. There has been an official policy that men will be prosecuted, but women will not be prosecuted for the same behavior. I cannot comment on the specifics of what the woman you mentioned said in court. Her background is being looked into. They may have a more formal way of getting that on the record. But there is an enormous amount of evidence already, separate from her testimony, indicating that there was a lot of consensual behavior that was inappropriate for Navy officers, and that this consensual behavior involved both men and women. And we know that the disgrace that came from Tailhook, unfortunately, it was used to tar all the men in the Navy, certainly the whole institution of the Navy, and a lot of guilty parties have been let free because of bungled prosecutions that were driven by politics. And we know that women who were involved in many of these activities, such as the leg shaving that you mentioned, that is in the official Tailhook report, that 3 officers had their legs shaved. Now, if the man who did the leg shaving is brought up for charges of conduct unbecoming an officer, why were not the women brought up with the same charges?
It's a case of double standards, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's a case of double standards.
But of course, it's a double standard, and we know too that there was a woman who was an officer parading topless. She was not brought in for charges. I guess she was just eased out. Another woman who admitted to lying about sexual harassment to cover her own consensual behavior. To date, she has not been brought up on charges. The bottom line with Tailhook is this: as with the issue of homosexuals in the military, we've had a very difficult year for our men and women in uniform. And it may have been easier for the Navy to recover from Pearl Harbor than it will be to recover from the aftermath of Tailhook. Now, I've written about this in an article which will appear in National Review.
Has that come out yet?
It'll be in the January 24th issue, which means it'll be on the newsstands around January 12th.
Yes,
and,
I saw a little bit of that, and where you indeed say that it might be easier for us to recover. It might have been easier for us to recover from Pearl Harbor than what's going on now, because
that's right.
they're using that incident to put women on combat ships and to do other things that will deter the operation of the Navy.
Representative Pat Schroeder is a master of sexual politics, and she came up with this just amazing non sequitur. That since women have it goes something like this: military women must be protected from their drunken comrades in American hotels, but it's perfectly all right to expose them to vicious thugs behind enemy lines. Now, anybody who doesn't get it, I don't know. What most logical people do not get it. The tailhook incident has been used to implement policies to put women into direct combat on land, sea, and in the air. And this is going to have very long-term negative consequences, both in the terms of the strength and effectiveness of the military forces. Certainly recruiting and retention will be affected. It already is being affected.
And I'm sure it has already demoralized many of our great men who did excellently in the Gulf War, and they come back and find that they don't have their duty assignments because of this incident, or they don't have their promotions, or
Right.
they've received that they had to go to mass.
Well, my article describes in as much detail as I could fit into 2,400 words that a number of admirals were scapegoated. They were treated unfairly. They were accused of wrongdoing when there was no wrongdoing. The record was never set straight. We've had heroes of the Gulf War who were punished for the actions of people who were not even under their command. You have an entire institution being turned upside down, and the crowning insult of the tailhook was the way that Admiral Kelso, the Chief of Naval Operations, when the Secretary of the Navy attempted to remove him, the Secretary of Defense, Les Aspin, overruled that and retained Kelso because of his support for women in combat. So the message to the people in the military is, look, you support what is politically correct, namely women in combat, and you're supposed to ignore all the double standards, the gender norming that goes on to make it work, that scores women differently than men in physical and other kinds of things.
Could you give us an example of the gender norming?
Well, it's pervasive throughout the military. If you go to any of the service academies, you will see that women are graded A for performance of certain tasks that would only earn a C or a D for a man. That's the simplest form of gender norming. There's more insidious forms, though. There's been a number of reports, and in combat aviation training, some women are just simply not allowed to fail. That if they don't do as well as the men, they're carried over anyway. We know that the dual prosecution, that Paula Coughlin and others have not been brought to the same, or held to the same standard as men, that is not only demoralizing to the men, it's demeaning to the women. And I suspect that military women listening to me right now are just as offended by that as everyone else is.
And then also, I don't believe that the gender norming contributes to respect among men and women that are in the service.
No.
That is, if I'm a guy and I had to, let's say, climb a certain number of feet of rope in 34 seconds, and you give a woman 60 or 70 seconds to do the same thing, well, then I'm going to lose some respect for her.
Yes, as a matter of fact, climbing the rope has a different standard. I've seen it at the Quantico Marine Training Base. It is, as I said, pervasive in the military training. And you can gender norm on athletic fields or in just exercises that don't matter, but combat is a serious business. Every soldier depends on every other soldier.
That's right. I understand at some of the academies, they've eliminated wearing boots, combat boots, because women suffer a greater percentage of ankle injuries, and they've eliminated running with weapons.
It is well documented that women have more injuries in strenuous training. They will say when questioned, though, oh, we did that for everybody, it has nothing to do with women. There is a lack of candor that is almost institutionalized. As a member of the Presidential Commission, you got to the point where you could see through it. And we put persistence inquiries anyway to ascertain, and there's more than enough documentation. Double standards are everywhere. Now, the number one cause of, or one of the major reasons for sexual harassment in the military, according to a major study done by the General Accounting Office, is resentment of double standards.
Yeah, right.
But instead of getting rid of the double standards, they're institutionalizing them even more.
and what's worse, Elaine, is that it really can lead to the death not only of women but soldiers. That is, if they're thrown into a combat situation on the assumption that they've met these combat requirements, well, they can get slaughtered.
Well, women do not have an equal opportunity to survive in a combat environment or to help their fellow soldiers survive. This is not a woman's issue. This is a readiness issue and military strength issue. It's a life and death issue. And yet it's being politicized as if, some aviators behaved very badly in a corridor of the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas 2 years ago. For this reason, we have to throw over the wisdom of the ages. No other modern country is doing what this military is being pressured to do, and I feel so badly because people in uniform are not supposed to dissent on political issues.
Well, thanks, Elaine. We'll come back after the break, and we're going to take some phone calls. But I hope we tell our enemies that we've normed.
In exactly 1 hour, sizzled or saved. But wait, the worst is yet to come.